This hyper tough tool set was pulled from Walmart shelves before most people had a chance to buy it. I was able to get my hands on one, so today we're going to find out why. Is it really as close to the icon set as it seems? Let's find out. I had a viewer reach out to me a couple of weeks ago and told me he was able to purchase one of these hyper tough sets. And to be honest, I didn't even know it existed until he reached out. He let me know I could borrow it for this video and I jumped on it. He didn't give me too many details. He just said that the clerk had to manually enter in the information to check him out and it worked. And he really should have never been able to walk out the store with it. Neither Walmart nor Harbor Freight has confirmed the speculation on this, but it is believed that this set had a stop sale on it due to its similarity to the icon set. There was no official release date for it because it already had a register lock from day one, and if anyone tried to buy it, they were rejected at the register. Allegedly, there was an accidental stocking of the product around mid-May, and then there was a company-wide shelf pull not long after that, which is why you can't find this in the stores or online anymore. Walmart has not publicly released a timeline or an explanation, so this is all based on customer reports and speculation. But if anyone knows anything more concrete, please let me know in the comments. Also, I'm curious to know if anyone has seen these stocked in stores near you. I haven't seen this stocked in any of the stores near me, and online it either doesn't exist at all or it says it's unavailable. But I am really curious to know if anyone has any other information on that or if anyone has been able to get any of these. All right, so let's open this thing up. So in order to open the box, you slide it over right here and then it pops open. But before I get into that, I just kind of want to point out the quality of this box. It's really nice. The edges here are kind of rubbery, so if you were to drop it or something, it probably wouldn't break, and it would keep the tools inside safe, so that's nice. All right, so we'll open this, and it's got this interesting hinge right here. That's definitely different than the icon box. So I'm sure most of y'all have already seen what the inside of the icon box looks like. And just at first glance, this does look pretty similar, especially this section right here. We're going to compare everything in a minute. I just want to take a look at all of this first before we do the side-by-side comparison. The layout is pretty nice. Everything is held in place pretty well. It doesn't look like it's going to fall out. Everything has this satin finish to it. It's pretty nice looking. The ratchet is a bit ratchet, so this kind of reminds me more of the older icon set that I have here. It's not a locking flex head ratchet, but it does have a detent in there, so it snaps into positions. It feels pretty smooth. I do like that. It's a close-up of this ratchet here. When you look inside here, it's got a little retention ring in there. So for the bits we have in here, we've got the PZ1, PZ2, PZ3, and then we have the PH1 and PH2. There's no Phillips 3. I find that kind of interesting that they put a PZ3 but not a PH3. And then for the Torx bits, we've got a T10 through a T40, and these are security Torx. Got a T30, T27, and then it just goes down 27, 25, 20, 15, and 10. Then we've got the 3 flathead bits here, 4.5, 6.5, and 8. And then the hex bits, looks like we've got a mixture of SAE and metric. We've got more metric here, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then the SAE we have 5/32, 3/16, and 1/4. I also have this bit to anvil adapter here, 1/4 inch of course. See how this fits in here. It's in there pretty good, pretty nice looking. So everything has this satin finish on it. I'm pretty impressed with this so far. The sockets look pretty nice, both metric and SAE, and we've got the bit adapter here. It's a 1/4" bit adapter. This looks a lot like the icon set. This part right here especially, I feel like this resembles the icon set even more. Even the placement of the sockets. And let's see, in the HyperTough version, we've got the SAE going here on this side, and then the metric on this side. So for the metric sockets, it starts off at 5 mm, and then we've got 5.5, 6, and then all the way to 14, no skips. And then when you pull out the socket, let me see if I can show up close here. When you pull out the sockets, it has the size down there at the bottom. I do have to admit these sockets look pretty nice. That's a pretty nice looking socket. What do y'all think? Pretty decent looking there. On the SAE side, it goes from 3/16, 7/32, 1/4, 9/32, 5/16, 11/32, 3/8, 7/16, 1/2, and 9/16. The driver here looks pretty nice. Pretty decent size here. Pretty comfortable. That satin finish here, not bad. I do have to say, this looks pretty familiar. All right, so let's go ahead and compare here. So to open the icon, it's a similar thing. You just slide this over and it pops open. All right. One major difference here is the size, but I mean, this is pretty similar. The thing that's most similar to me is this part down here. Now I did add this, let me take this out because that's not original with this kit here. But I mean, just looking at this, I can definitely see why we have an issue here, but it's not exactly the same. So let's go over some of this real quick. The cases, first of all, pretty different, right? You've got this extra hinge back here, and I think this is meant to click into something else, some other HyperTough case or something, because it says right here, HyperStack, and then it's got these little connectors. So I'm pretty sure it slides into some other piece, but just looking at the cases, you wouldn't think, oh, that's the same exact thing. But this says Icon 1/4" compact socket set. And then here it says 1/4" drive compact socket set. So pretty close to the same wording here. They do slide open in different directions. Like this one, you pull it this way, and this one you pull this way. But with the HyperTough, the bit holders, you have to physically pull them open yourself, whereas the icon set, it automatically pops open when you open it. And then when you close it, it's got this little section right here that forces the bits to close. This part runs right against there. So that is nice. I do like that about the icon set. They're already up for you to pull them out, whereas with the HyperTough set, you have to move them yourself to get them out. But that's not a huge problem. The layout for the extensions here is pretty much the same. It's just flipped. It's almost like the same for this too. It's upside down. So if you just took these and flipped them, then they look more like, man, that's just crazy, right? The sockets here. So for the icon, the SAE is up here and then metric down here. SAE goes from 3/16. I think it's exactly the same sizes. This is the 1/4" sockets. So the metric 5 all the way to 14, no skips, and then there's a 5.5 too. Metric here on the icon, same thing. Starts at 5, you have a 5.5, and then it goes up to 14. And it also has the sizes on the inside here as well. It's pretty crazy how similar it is. One thing I will say that's different is the sockets are held in a lot tighter in the icon set. Like, it's kind of hard to pull out some of these sockets. Like, you grab onto it and you can lift up the whole case. Whereas with the Hyper Tough set, the sockets just come right out pretty much. It's not going to pull up the entire case when you pull them out. So I bet you if I put this upside down, yeah, you start to lose some sockets pretty easy. Whereas with the Icon set, well, that came out, but for the sockets don't really come out as easy. The driver snaps in a little bit better though. On the Hyper Tough, it snaps in right here. So the driver is less likely to fall out than the Icon. The Icon driver just sits in here. It doesn't snap in at all. But let's take a look at the drivers here. Both red and black. They're about the same length. The Hyper Tough does have a really nice feel to it. It's a little bit of a different shape, but pretty close. You can just tell right here in the anvil that the Icon is better quality. But I mean, I think that goes without saying. So for the price on this, I think when these were on the shelves, they were being sold at $40. I think it was $39.99 or so. And then the Icon set, when it's not on sale, this guy is $79.99. So this is half the price of this. I think that's a pretty sweet deal to be getting everything that's here, and the quality, it's not like it's that big of a difference. Let's take a look here at the ratchet differences. So the direction switch is the same direction. The ratchet is different though. We have a bit ratchet for the Hyper Tough, and we've got this 1/4 inch ratchet for the Icon, and this is a locking flex head for the Icon. This ratchet reminds me more of the ratchet that comes in this set. So yeah, this ratchet is much more like this one, but you can see the difference in quality here just by looking at it. And then of course this one's a locking flex. The directions go the same. However, the Icon bit ratchet is smoother for sure than the Hyper Tough. Definitely is smoother. It's not terrible though. Definitely not bad. So I wanted to look at these bit adapters up close here. So the Hyper Tough has a little bit different of a retention setup here. Instead of a retention ring, it's got this piece of metal that goes in there and adds some tightness to the bit, whereas with the Icon, it does have a retention ring in there. So I wonder if that would make a difference in the retention of the bits. All right, so I'm gonna pop this in here. Oh yeah, this, you really gotta push that in. So that's in there good. I really have to pull it hard to get it apart, and you really gotta push it in hard to get it in there. Whereas with the Icon, that goes in and out much easier. That's a lot easier than this. So the retention on that is much better. Let's see what the... Oh yeah. Okay, so here on the Hyper Tough, you have quite a bit of slop here. You can just hear it. But on the Icon, a little bit of movement. Not near as much though. You have more movement here than you do here. Like, there's hardly any movement between the bit and the bit holder, but it's all coming from right here. Whereas with this one, not much movement there, but definitely more movement here with the bit. That is kind of annoying. Y'all hear that? Very rattly. Not quite as much here with this one. When you put a bit into the ratchet here, it's a pretty tight fit in there. Not a whole lot of movement, not a whole lot of play in there, so that is nice. When comparing these two ratchets, this definitely has a thicker wheel here, so you have a little bit bigger of a profile with the Hyper Tough than you do with the Icon, but it's not too much. I have to say I'm pretty impressed with this HyperTough set. I want to compare the U-joints here. So these universal joint sockets are a little different in the way they look. The HyperTough version feels okay. The Icon version definitely feels stiffer in motion, feels tighter. This one is easier to move around. So I don't know, let me know in the comments what you would prefer there. And tell me, do y'all like the look of the satin finish or do you like the chrome polish look better? I like them both. I'm not sure what I like better, really. And then as far as these extensions, we have exactly the same thing in both sets here. Oh, one thing I wanted to see. I want to see if this is a pass-through. Yep, but it doesn't have a specific spot that you have to put it into. It seems like it passes through anywhere. Whereas the Icon set for this one, it has to go where that white dot is. You have to line it up to get it to pass through. You can't just stick it through anywhere. It stops and you can put pressure on it and it's not going to go through unless you line it up right, and then you can get it to go through. So this one, it does have a little retention spot that lines up right there, and you can get it to not go all the way through, and it, you know, you can put a little bit of pressure on it, but if you put too much, it'll just slide right through, whereas the Icon won't do that. But that's just for this set. This set doesn't have that capability because it just has the 1/4-inch socket ratchet on this in this set. If you wanted to get the bit driver, you would have to get either both or buy a separate bit driver to stick in, which is what I did. Oh, you know what? I want to test the magnet here. Already, I can tell the Icon magnet's better. You see how that kind of just pulls it in? That one is much less, so much less, it's not strong at all, to be completely honest there. Like, I feel like I can get it to drop out of here, yeah. But this one, this is the Icon. And see, I'm barely holding on to that bit there. It's not gonna come out, but then this one, same thing. Just holding on to the edge here. Yeah, so there's definitely a difference there. And then they both come with a 2-inch extension for the sockets. And there's the difference there for those. Just a little bit of knurling here on the HyperTough. The Icon has quite a bit more there. And of course, on everything it says Icon. On all the individual sockets, they all say Icon. Everything says Icon here, but the HyperTough, it just says chrome vanadium. There's no HyperTough branding on the sockets or anything else. It just says chrome vanadium and then the size on there. I do want to look at socket slop. With the Icon, there is hardly any socket slop on here. I'm trying to move it, not getting much there. So that's really nice. With the HyperTough, we're gonna have to put the adapter on it first. So then we might get a little bit of slop from the adapter being in there. Just a little bit. That's not too bad. Since this is the pass-through, let's take a look at the pass-through Icon. Probably just as much play there with that. So that's not too bad. I will say it's a lot harder to get this anvil out of the Icon. I'm gonna need to get some pliers to get this out. Let's compare these. So I've got the Icon on the right and the HyperTough on the left. They're pretty similar. The HyperTough looks a little interesting. It's got this little shape here. It's a little different than this one. Then the Icon, it's just regular looking bit. What do y'all think that's for? All right, let's go put these to use. Okay, so I've got both sets here. I'm gonna get these tested out. I'm gonna start with the Hyper Tough. I'm gonna put the extension on it. Get some extra leverage here. If I'm gonna be using something like this, it's probably gonna be when I'm on the side of the road, and this is, you know, my road kit or something on the bike. I'm not sure if I would be changing brakes on the side of the road, but I figured this would be an easy way to test it out. All right, so I'm gonna stick the little adapter in there, get a 14mm socket. Not too much slop, maybe a little bit, but all right, here goes. See if I can break this loose. Ooh, I'm afraid. This isn't my tool set, so I'm kind of afraid I don't want to break this. Let's use my new old DieHard ratchet to break it loose first, and then we can go from there. Okay. Okay. Back drag's not the greatest on this. Let's see. Let me tighten it back up here. Ooh. Ooh. It seems to be skipping teeth a little bit. Let's see. Okay, that's better. I think I just needed to make sure the direction switch was in the right position properly. Yeah, the back drag's not too bad. Now that I don't know what that was. That was weird. Yeah, honestly, the back drag is not bad at all. And it's letting me put a good amount of pressure here. It took a good amount of torque just now, so not bad at all. All right, now let's go with the icon. Same thing, extension, get the 14mm socket. It just, I don't know, it just feels tighter. It feels like it could take more. It feels like the back drag's about the same on both of these ratchets. Let me see. I'm going to switch back over to the Hyper Tough real quick and see. Okay. Huh. Yeah. I'm pretty impressed with this. Yeah, you know what? I like it. I like it a lot. I'm kind of afraid to put too much torque on these, but that's not really what they're meant for. So I think I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm pretty impressed. I'm really hoping that Walmart and Harbor Freight figure this out because I would like to buy one of these sets. So as far as value goes, if the Hyper Tough would have remained on the shelves and if they eventually bring it back, do I think this is a good value? Yes, I do. I think this is a great value. $40, and who knows, maybe if they eventually do bring this back, I don't know if they're going to have to make any changes to it. We'll just have to wait and see what happens, how the whole thing plays out. I'm assuming they're gonna go to court for this, but like I said, it's all speculation right now. There hasn't been any statements that either company has put out, so I'm not sure. But I think it's kind of funny because with Harbor Freight, they have been on the other side of this so many times with their tools being taken to court because it's too similar. And like that whole thing with the Snap-on jack that they got taken to court over, they ended up winning. And then, you know, this happens, and then Walmart puts out something similar to something that Harbor Freight has, and now they're on the other end of it. So I'm really interested to see what happens with all this. I'll make sure to follow along with anything that gets released online, and if I do hear anything, I will let y'all know. But yeah, for this being completely half the price of this one, I do think that's a good value. Even though you're losing out on some quality, I think paying half the price is reasonable for a minor dip in quality. Of course, I do prefer the icon set for sure, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't want the Hyper Tough kit in my toolbox. If I was able to buy this today, I definitely would. Unfortunately, I do have to send this back to my friend, but I do want to say thank you again to my friend for allowing me to borrow this to make this video. I did enjoy the opportunity to get to make this comparison and take a close look at these two sets and really try to find out why Walmart had to take this off the shelf. I think they're just trying to play it safe right now with everything going on. I do personally think that there is some sort of lawsuit happening, but of course everything I'm saying is alleged. I don't know anything for sure, so take all this with a grain of salt, but I do think that is what's happening. But we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. Is this an icon imposter? What do you guys think? Do you think this set is close enough to the icon set for Harbor Freight to win in court over? I want to know. I'm curious to know what y'all think about that. After comparing everything, I can definitely see why people would call it an icon imposter for sure. Whether that's a coincidence, inspiration, or something else, I'll let y'all decide. But anyway, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like button. Consider subscribing if you're still watching, and I will catch y'all next time. Stay happy, healthy, and wealthy.